Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast. Today, our topic is analysis paralysis.
Welcome to the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with Scott Whitwam, your blueprint to financial abundance. Settle in as we explore the mindset and methods for wealth building through real estate.
Welcome back. Let me break down what I mean when I say analysis paralysis. See, this is a term that identifies or refers to overthinking an opportunity or spending significant time analyzing, comparing, and reviewing to a point where little or no action is taken. With real estate investing, this happens pretty easily. When faced with a suite of choices that gives you just really too many choices, just voluminous amounts of information, and it leads a person to becoming overwhelmed and have a fear of making a wrong or poor decision. This leads to lost opportunities. If this sounds familiar, then you are not alone. To start with, we need to be able to recognize the telltale signs of analysis paralysis. You should consider this. If you're regularly researching properties, but you fail to make offers, even after you have all of the pertinent information, then you may have analysis paralysis. If you attend seminars, webinars, and purchase at least some of their training materials and information, but you fail to act on the training information or processes, you may have analysis paralysis. If you read real estate investing books but can't seem to take the next step because you're worried about all of the what ifs and all of the risk potentials so that you get stuck in a loop of indecision, you may have analysis paralysis. So if you can identify and understand the causes, then you can make a plan to deal with what's holding you back. So let's take a moment. Let's dig into why analysis paralysis even happens. And so here are some of the common causes. First is fear of failure. The thought of making a mistake or losing money causes you to freeze. It causes many people to freeze. And they avoid taking action. This fear of failure, happens with beginners, and it happens with the most experienced investors. And it keeps everybody from taking action. Generally, this fear is subconscious. It's not like you landed in a lion's cage and all of a sudden you're got a fear of being eaten. It's a subconscious fear that holds you back. You don't even know that you're being affected by it, but it's the reason why you're not taking action. Number two, you get information overload. Often we think our problem is not having enough information, when in fact, sometimes the more we learn, the more confused we become, the more overwhelmed we become. In this information age, there's no shortages of self-help videos, books, webinars, seminars, which when combined together creates an overdose of information or information overload. And when you get information overload, it literally will paralyze you because you'll just in your head you're going over, okay, well, what is this? And then stuff starts to blur together, and you don't know how to take action. Number three, perfectionist desire. This is when you want everything to be perfect. You want every opportunity to be like the one you did before. Clean, easy, neat, uncomplicated, wanting every deal to come together perfectly, just like retail buyers do. But the reality is it's very rare that investment deals are perfect. And for the perfectionist, this can lead to paralysis as few deals ever seem good enough. As an investor, I get paid for fixing problems. The bigger the problem I can fix, the better I get paid. Small problems, small paychecks. And that's why, retail buyers, they're just buying a house to live in, or even investors who are buying retail off the retail markets. They have very little issue with everything having to be perfect because the deals are pretty much vetted through the real estate agent. And so when they purchase them, their margins typically are smaller. For some corporate buyers, it really doesn't matter as long as the numbers match. But for people like me who are trying to maximize profit and minimize risk, it can be a real problem. Number 4 is lack of clarity. This happens when you really fail to identify what you're doing. Beginners often get caught in this trap, trying to figure out what investment strategies that they want to implement. The beginner is not alone, though. Even very seasoned investors can have this issue when they make the decision to open up new markets, new opportunities, new classes of investments. Let's just say like a fix and flip investor wanting to get into multifamily without a clear plan or set focus of goals. So this lack of clarity can affect everybody. It doesn't matter what level you're at. So if you're just beginning or whether you're seasoned, you're having this issue, you're not alone. It's one of the things that causes this paralysis, and we try to overanalyze things. And that's why I tell, new real estate investors a lot of times, you got to get clarity on what you're doing. Because if you don't get clarity on what you're doing, you can invest in properties, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table. You're not maximizing your ability and your time. So lack of clarity, at all levels, just keeps your head spinning with all of the details, and that's never a really good place to be. So knowing what analysis paralysis is and understanding how to identify it is not sufficient. I mean, if you just know about it, it's not enough. We need to have a strategy to overcome this analysis paralysis. So I thought I'd go over some effective approaches to help you overcome this problem of overanalyzing and paralyzing yourself when it comes to real estate investing. One of the best ways to do this is limit your options. Number 1, I would say, would be limit your options. Instead of trying to analyze every possible investment, focused on a specific niche or area that could be the type of investment class that you want to get involved in, like short-term vacation rentals or multifamily or a type of property by age, size, or location. When you focus, things become much more clear. Number 2, I would say, is set clear goals. When we set goals, we often forget to define them. We make them kind of nebulous. We make them these kind of broad, these goals. They're so big that we can never really achieve them because they encompass so much. So I always say make clear, defined goals and clearly define what you want to achieve with your investment. Maybe you're looking for appreciation or maybe you're looking for cash flow, but write down your goals and refer to them daily. If your goals are narrow, clearly defined, with set timelines, and you refer to them daily, you're much more likely to achieve them. Number 3, I would recommend setting up a decision-making framework. This can be done just by setting up a clear set of criteria to evaluate potential investments. Since investing has so many steps in the process, creating written criteria to the steps could include some factors, including where prospective properties are located. So for instance, if you want to buy properties within 5 miles of you, but you spend half your day analyzing properties that are, outside that area that ultimately you're never going to buy, then you're wasting a lot of time. If you decided that you want to be a remote investor and you want to do your investing in a certain area because maybe that's where you're going to retire, or maybe that's where the best deals seem to lie in the niche that you're in, then it doesn't make sense to be, evaluating properties in Montana if your goal is to buy properties in Florida. And a lot of times when I talk to investors, we talk about, oh man, I found this great, deal in, Montana or in Idaho or in California or, Arkansas or whatever. But you get talking with them and their whole model is to buy, in North Carolina. And so it doesn't make any sense. And so once you create a framework and you start analyzing properties, you make sure that they fit within that geographic requirement. Another factor could be that you in your analyzing is what are the cash-on-cash return minimums that you need? What is the minimum gain on a fix and flip venture that you need? And if you start evaluating a property and it's clear that it doesn't fit within that framework, then don't go any further with that one. Drop it off the list. Go to the next one. You can get through a lot more properties. You'll be much more successful at narrowing down what it is that you want to invest in. See, if your numbers don't fit within the decision-making framework, don't try to wedge it in. You know how sometimes if you try to put on a shoe that's too small, you just wedge it in. You don't want to do that with your investment properties. There's a lot of investment properties out there. Make sure that it fits within your acceptable criteria. And when it does, then take action. Number 4, take small steps. Even if your goal is acquiring 1,000 rental doors, if you suffer from analysis paralysis, taking small steps can launch you past indecision. Focus on moving your goals forward, one step at a time. Evaluate your progress with each small step. And as you overcome and you break through the stagnation and overthinking, rejoice in that. And then take your next step and next step. As a seasoned investor, sometimes I want to do everything all at once. And sometimes I had to catch myself and go, whoa, step back. You're trying to do too much. Take one small step at a time, and I accomplish much more when I get in that mode. Number 5 is seek coaching or mentoring. The most successful real estate investors destroy analysis paralysis by having someone hold them accountable to their dreams and their goals. This can make all of the difference for you. As a coach of many years, I've seen how coaching can launch the most timid and level up the most advanced investors. Not only have I become a successful real estate investor coach, but I'm also a student. I use coaches to keep me on track, hold me accountable, and sometimes see the obvious. And this is what's really funny is sometimes they see the obvious because I'm buried in current circumstances that have it camouflaged. Having a guide hold you accountable can make all of the difference. Consider engaging a coach who has experience in real estate investing and can get you to the level that you want to be. Years ago, I had a friend who was caught in this cycle of analysis paralysis. He was an analyzer, which can be good. In fact, it served him well as a real estate investor. Later on, after he got better at creating an investor framework and setting clear real estate goals, he was really good. But many years ago, he and I got our real estate licenses. I had been an investor for years and had gone through real estate courses in several states and several times to get the information. But I never really saw a need to be licensed as an investor at that point with what I was doing. But when he was getting his license, he encouraged me to do the same. He was a creative thinker, and as an investor, it can be a huge asset to be a creative thinker. But because he was so creative and an analyzer, he suffered from analysis paralysis. And in doing so, he would opt for safe, traditional, or joint venture opportunities that would leave a lot of money on the table. Many other opportunities he would pass by or wait way too long in analyzing things. As he was doing his analyzing and everything, when he got ready to pull the trigger, trying to figure out all of the angles, he would lose a deal. But it took some time, some years actually, but over a period of time, I watched him become much more focused, narrowing down his focus and getting specific about what investments he would pursue, clearer goals. His framework helped him become a much more successful real estate investor. These principles work at all investment levels. Just limit your options, set clear goals, create a decision-making framework, take small steps, and engage a coach. These are really good things for you to do as an investor. It'll help you be more successful. And here's some final tips before we wrap up this episode. Imperfection is okay. There are no perfect investment transactions. All real estate has some risk, uncertainty, hiccups. Overanalyzing leads to inaction or lost opportunities. Build your decision-making framework and take action every day to move closer to your investing goals. Number 2 is learn from mistakes. If things don't go perfectly as you had planned them to in your investing process, view it as a learning opportunity. Don't pull back or allow it to add to your paralysis, but rather learn and launch into your new level. Every successful investor has faced setbacks while learning new ways to become success. Number 3, celebrate progress. Always remember to celebrate your successes. It doesn't matter how small. Every step you take forward towards your goals should be celebrated. This will help you stay motivated and focused on the larger picture. The key is to continue moving forward, even if it's just one step at a time. Thank you for joining me on this episode. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. And if you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you. This has been Scott Whitwam. Be sure to join us on our next episode of the Whitwam Wealth Real Estate Podcast with the mindsets and methods of wealth building through real estate.